Hi everyone, and welcome to the Fourth Tier Fever podcast. Just before we get started, I wanted to thank you all for watching. We are trying to push out as much content as we possibly can for you all. We love the debate, so please get involved on the social media accounts. But also, 73% of you aren't subscribed, so subscribe to the YouTube just so you never miss any videos. We are trying 2 videos a week now, so hopefully we're getting as much content as we can to you. And enjoy the episode.
Right, okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Fourth Fever. I hope you guys are doing well. We're back for another midweek. It is the this week's preview episode. 3 games to look through from last night. It's not going to take long. I don't think. But we've also got a whole host of fixtures to look forward to on Saturday. It's nice to say that all the games are on Saturday this week, so we don't have to rush. And by the time this podcast comes out on a Thursday, it'd be hours before kickoff, and that game, like it was last week, and it did my head in. Thursday night games are absolutely awful anyway. Get them binned. And there's my little moment for today. We've got Luke, Jake, and Jack with us for this one. I obviously spoke to Luke at the weekend, but obviously we'll go to Jack first. Just a quick mention of the result on Saturday, as we haven't spoke to you like in person since. So or even result aside, you'd probably choose not to talk about your club at the minute. Although it's completely up to you whether you want to mention it or not. Lose, so there's that element to it.
Yeah, I mean, it was another one of them games on Saturday. It was not 3 points, 2 points lost. I didn't see what Luke thought of the game, but it's one of them. I think we did very well. I've rated MK highly, so I'm surprised at how we've done. But again, it's another one with points are slipping away. We desperately trying to cling on to any points that we can. One's a good result against MK, in my opinion, but in the game, you've got to go for all 3. I think we're lacking that finishing touch.
Instead of looking back at the pod for Luke's thoughts, just go back to about 5:05 on Saturday afternoon to the WhatsApp chat. I mean, you got your answer there with some of the comments that were being mentioned, but we won't say anything on here because, well, I'd quite like to keep my position here, and same as Luke, I think. But
I get beaten often enough.
Yeah, we bully you on MK Dons enough, and we'll continue to do it because your team are absolutely awful at the moment. Anyway, how's things?
I mean, I can't really argue with that. I mean, a Tranmere fan has just said that we that's 2 points dropped against us, and that's kind of summarises our problems. So,
down at the bottom of the barrel here.
Yeah, I'm just
they're disappointed with taking points off the mighty MK Dons.
Yeah, let's just pretend football doesn't exist. Let's just do that.
We've also got Jake, as mentioned. Jake, if your team keeps losing, that'd be great.
No, I'm with Luke. Let's just forget football like this for another week.
No, it's all right. It's great. I want to overtake you in a minute, because if we do, we'll probably end up in a blast spot.
Please. You're getting close now. How are you, Jordan? I don't think anyone's ever asked you that. How are you?
Yeah. I'm all right. I'm not all right. I've got to get up for 5 in the morning for work, but that's a different scenario in itself. But yeah, pretty chill. Not, still on a high from Saturday, but we need to try and temper expectations a little bit heading into this week, as we've got another big one in which we'll get on to. We'll also touch on the 3 games that played last night. One of them was goalless, so we won't dwell on it really. I'll run through the games real quickly since then. So we saw that Fleetwood Town and AFC Wimbledon drew goalless. It was a game I was keen on because obviously Fleetwood played Grimsby next. Doncaster picked up 1-0 win at Morecambe, to stop the rot of, like 2 defeats. I think they needed a win, and they've gone and got that. Probably could have scored more on another day, but finished with 10 men. And Notts County and Colchester drew 1 apiece at Meadow Lane. An early goal there in that one. But an early goal in the second half for Colchester, and it finishes on as even. Let's start with Doncaster. As I've mentioned, a couple of back-to-back defeats. One at Chesterfield, who put 5 past them. And then, of course, the one at the weekend to Grimsby, in which, like I said, I thought we were very much worthy of the victory, but I was quite surprised as to how poor Doncaster were. Another goal for Rob Street, another assist for Luke Molyneux. I tell you what, that's a partnership I think we could be seeing quite a lot of until the end of the season. We know Luke Molyneux's quality anyway. But I'm gonna be lying if I said I saw any or much stuff from the 3 games from last night. But certainly on face value, if I looked at the Morecambe and Doncaster game, I think probably if you're a Doncaster fan, it's probably the perfect game to get 3 points out of. And they did just that, albeit it might be a little bit nervy with the red card, but it looked a game in which, from what I've heard, they could have had a couple more. I mean, stats tell a story, but it looked pretty even. But I just think it's a result that sort of puts them back on track of things. I think that was the main thing, just to get 3 points out of there, just get out of there going forward. I think that was more important last night.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I did see the highlights from that game, and I mean, Doncaster really should have scored more. Street could have easily had a hat-trick, and then some, to be honest. But the result is the most important thing. It's not. I mean, well, the performance was dominant, but the goals didn't necessarily come with it, which is a bit of a shame. And then, of course, the red card as well, which is just another reckless challenge. And it's well, they've had too many of these, haven't they? They have a disciplinary problem even now. It's been months, but it'll do. It's probably not ideal, but they got the job done.
Jack, you must be pleased with that result. Obviously, from the relegation battle, you see that Morecambe lose again. I mean, I honestly hate when you're relying on other teams at the bottom. I know the feeling ever so well, but it must be a result in which, okay, that's another game sort of ticked off. I think if we can't get points, at least let's hope that one of the 2 teams below us don't get any, and they haven't again, Morecambe.
I think that's it. You've worded it perfectly. I think last night we were going into it. If they won, then they'd go ahead of us and we'd be in the relegation zone too. It was sort of panic station. So I was a Doncaster fan for the night. I did manage to watch a bit of the game. I think Doncaster did really well in the first half. They, like you say, they should have scored more. But I'm sure we'll touch on it later on. But the comparison between Morecambe and other sides or ourselves, they really fought for their lives, especially after the red card. It just kept going back into the box constantly for the last 20 minutes. And it was just non-stop, and Doncaster managed to get out, but it just kept going back into the box. And I think when you've got a squad that can put on that momentum at the end of the game, they were really fighting. They were really, really fighting to get at least a point from that game. Given the end of the game, I'm kind of surprised they didn't really with the man advantage. But yeah, I mean, it's not the result they wanted, Morecambe. They've got to pick up points quickly, and they've not got the most favourable next few games as well. But there's positive signs. At this moment in time, given how I think my team are doing, I think they've got a little bit of time. I know that they're fighters. They are going to try their best, and that's the difference between other sides at the bottom. And when they get the easier run of games, then I'm sure they'll show that.
Absolutely, you mentioned the run of games. I mean, look, they've got Walsall at the Mazuma Mobile. Is it the Mazuma Stadium? It is now, or the Globe Arena. That's what it once was, wasn't it? I mean, it's probably a game you expect Walsall to win. That they've got Gillingham after that, Morecambe, and then they've got AFC Wimbledon, MK Dons. That's an easy 3 points for them there. And they've got Barrow. So yeah, I fully agree. They've got a really difficult running coming up for teams fighting for something other than maybe, MK Dons probably not at this stage. Barrow, in fact, no, I'm lying there. I think it's probably Morecambe and AFC Wimbledon, Walsall and AFC Wimbledon. Sorry, that are probably more fighting for something. I mean, they've got Port Vale coming up in those run of games as well, but that's a little bit later on down the line. How big is this for potentially getting Doncaster back on track, Jake? Because we know that obviously the 2 defeats were, I think, a little bit damaging. I think they obviously had that FA Cup game against Crystal Palace, in which, from looking at bits of it, I did really well against Premier League opposition. I think it was just, I'm not sure if you agree, it was just that result just to kick things going again. Of course, after those 2 defeats with Accrington up next as well.
Yeah, it's huge for them because the last 2 defeats they had were also in big games for them, that ones they would have liked to win. So just to pick up that win that probably wasn't that good of a performance, but get a clean sheet, get the goal. Morecambe's a tough place to go, especially with Derek Adams. So just get the win and move on and just gain some confidence back.
Absolutely. Let's have a look at Notts County. Colchester 1 apiece. An early goal from Connor Grant set the tone at Meadow Lane with an equaliser very early on in the second half through an own goal from Zach Johnson. I saw a lot of comments from Notts County fans who were far from pleased with the performance. It was pretty turgid. It's another draw for Colchester. I mean, it sort of keeps up their sort of decent run of form. I think looking at them now, they're unbeaten now in their last 7. They picked up 4 wins in that time, and those wins were, against the likes of Walsall in there. I mean, Bromley are a decent team, but albeit they have played teams near the bottom, but you still got to get points out of them. I mean, they have played the likes of Morecambe, Carlisle. I mean, they're beaten Tranmere in that time. Luke was somewhat buzzing over the weekend. He's still there, red hot pick for the favourite for the playoffs. Even I kind of hope not, but I think if there's maybe a couple more draws in there that are converted into wins, there's definitely a shout. I think I'm looking at the table at the minute. I mean, Crewe is 7th on 49, Salford are 8th on 48, we're 9th on 48, and then you look at a couple below. Chesterfield are on 42, Colchester are on 42, Bromley are also on 42. I mean, Fleetwood and Cheltenham are very much outside chances, but there's a lot of work to do. They're both on 41. I think at the moment it's obviously, I think for 7th place or maybe even higher, you've got Crewe, Salford and Grimsby definitely fighting for it. And I'm looking at the teams near around that, the teams that I've mentioned. Colchester might be that team. I fancy them over Chesterfield at the minute. So I'm looking at yesterday, and I think it's certainly a much better point for Colchester than it is Notts County.
Oh, yeah, no, I'd agree with that entirely, to be fair. I think going into that game, Colchester absolutely would have taken a point. I think it's only sort of in hindsight they might look back on it with the chances they had. Certainly, Tyree Simpson had a couple that he should have put away. They were really easy chances. But in the end, it is a good point. Like I said, I think going into it, they would have taken that. And it just keeps things going, keeps them in the mix. And like I said, that's all you've got to do. Even if you can't win, don't lose. That's what they've done. At a difficult place to go to as well. And although the Notts performance was a little flat, it's still a decent point in my book.
Quick thoughts on Notts County. Quick thoughts on Notts County, Jack, because we obviously know that Tranmere head to them at the weekend. That's surely a game you're looking forward to, especially with Tranmere's perfect away record.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of them games, isn't it? It's a good way for them to keep on track. Not the greatest past 2 results. I think they've struggled against those sort of. I mean, Port Vale, struggled against Port Vale in that playoff race, and then Colchester as well, who are in good form. Fairly easy few games for them. It's us. And then you're looking at Fleetwood and Barrow as well. You're looking at sort of mid-table sides. If they are gonna make that push, that's the time to build up your momentum going into March. I think we said on the Transfer Live podcast that it was probably one of the better windows in League Two. I stand by that still. And it's looking a good squad. Jatt is on form. They're looking like they can score goals. So fingers crossed. Well, not for me on Saturday, but after that, they'll continue to do so.
Perfect. Jay, what do you think about obviously the Colchester shout for the playoffs? Now, I think you probably have the same opinion as me, that the fact that we kind of don't really want to let them near it, and I think they're personally the biggest threat to us at present. I'm coming back to this in like 3 weeks when we're completely out of it. So that's going to be fun. But what have you sort of made to them? Because I see there's clearly a good team there, very good players, some arguably League One level. I do believe Danny Cowley's a League One manager. And just a really tight-knit squad. I do feel that I keep saying this all season, but I think there's certainly more to come. I mean, look, I think their recent record sort of says it, but I think if they can just get one or two more wins in there, because I know that they have drawn a fair few of their games this season, I don't see why they can't do it.
Yeah, exactly that. They had 15 draws from 31 games, and they've only won 9. So if they just turn it around a little bit, so they win a few more games, because they're not conceding many, but they're scoring not that many as well compared to the teams above them. So if they just turn a few of those draws into wins, which is such an easy thing to say, but then they will be right in that mix.
Yeah, completely agree. We won't dwell too much on the last game that happened last night. Fleetwood played out a goalless draw at home to AFC Wimbledon. Looking at the stats and whatnot, XG. I'm talking like Mike Williamson here with, he loves his XG stats and all that sort of stuff. Fleetwood by far look like the more dominant team. It's a long way to go for AFC Wimbledon, midweek. And I think they'll be very happy with that draw. I do look at Fleetwood, on the other hand, that's the third game in a row in which they haven't scored in. From those chances, I look at those chances. Again, I'm just going off stats. I've seen absolutely nothing. But the fact, 19 shots and they haven't scored a goal, I think, I don't know. I don't know how, to be honest. Certainly, but yeah, as I mentioned, I think it's certainly a better draw for AFC Wimbledon with them at home, or them being away. Sorry, not at home. Absolutely miles from home within that one.
Well, yeah, it's one of them. I think based on the performance, they'd probably take it. To be honest, this is normally the point in the podcast where everyone expects me to absolutely roast them for not beating a mid-table side, but I don't think I can. I don't think that would be very honest. Although their performance was really poor and they were on the ropes for a lot of it, they've defended well enough, to hold the clean sheet down. Maybe rode their luck a little bit. I mean, there was a penalty shout in there with a potential handball, but it's a case of they've done enough. And like I was saying with one of the other games previously, if you can't win, don't lose. And as long as you've got that momentum going forwards, and you're not, I feel like a loss stops momentum. And I think especially against Fleetwood as well, because Fleetwood, we know they're very hot or cold kind of side. They're either brilliant or they're terrible. I think they've played them on one of their good days and still come away with a point. So, I mean, fair play, it's a decent result.
Yeah, I've banged the drum on Fleetwood all season, and we know that AFC Wimbledon don't concede a lot of goals as it is, but I think even they will be disappointed last night going off that. But for Wimbledon, point added to the tally, still second. I don't think there'll be many complaints. With the draw last night. What have you sort of made on, I think, Fleetwood, Jack, this season? Because obviously it's been, as Luke mentioned, a lot of good days and bad days at the minute, very inconsistent. They've had the change in management with Charlie Adam being replaced by Pete Wild. I think there'll be more to come, but probably next season now. They've got Grimsby at the weekend, so they'll probably, 3 games without a goal. I'm fully expecting them to score, to be quite honest, and they'll probably let it all out on us with our fantastic pitch at Blundell Park. I say that, you seen Morecambe yesterday. I mean, people say our pitch, but it was pretty much a sand pit.
And they had the sign saying "keep off the grass" as well.
Yeah, what grass? What grass?
But yeah, I think Fleetwood, it's one of them. Like you say, it's a transitional period, isn't it? I don't think any Fleetwood fans are going to be heavily disappointed. I think their season's sort of done now. Charlie Adam, I didn't really know what to expect. I thought they'd be there or there about 10th to 15th, and they are. But I really like the introduction of Pete Wild. I think he's the manager that's probably perfect for them. And I'm really excited to see what he does, but I don't think it's going to be straight away. It's one of them. He's going to need a pre-season. He's going to need a bit of time to get them gelling and working with his systems. But it's really exciting to see. And although the results aren't coming this season, you've got to wait a little bit. You've got to be a little bit patient and see what's to come next season, because I'm sure next season starts pre-season, they'll be one of the favourites to go up, no doubt.
And I think there will be. I honestly think there will be. I think once Pete Wilder's got his own players in, he's got a summer with them, I think there's no reason why they can't be a threat in League Two next year. I think they've got a fair bit of money as well. And as I've mentioned, I've banged the drum about their squad all season. I think I mentioned Charlie, and you did as well. I think the only thing what was stopping me from somewhat, if Fleetwood can really push on, was him. And I don't mean that in a nasty way. I think I was under the same opinion as a few others. I didn't really know what to expect, but I wasn't totally convinced he would have been a man to get him up into like a promotion battle or anything like that. I just wasn't convinced, but I am 100% convinced with Pete Wild. It probably, like I said, it probably won't be this season now, but I think they're in good stead already to maybe go again next year. I mean, never say never on this season, but I'll be honest, I think it's looking quite unlikely now, and it somewhat rubbishes my prediction a couple of weeks ago in the bin in record time, which sounds like me. Jake, just quick thoughts on AFC Wimbledon. What have you somewhat made of him? What have you made of him in this game? I mean, look, the second at the minute. Look, they don't concede many at all. Just 20 goals conceded. They go to Colchester next, which is a difficult game for them. They've got Bromley after that. Actually, there's two very difficult games there, but they're clearly having a good season.
Yeah, they're 11 games unbeaten now, and they're not conceding. They're just constantly picking up points, and that's exactly what they need to do. They're finally showing that consistency, which we haven't seen since they've come down. They've got Marty Stevens, who's got 20 goals in all competitions, so it's not more you can really ask for them.
And of course, they beat you a lot of the weekend, didn't they?
Yeah, although the goal probably shouldn't have stood.
Yeah, me and Luke did touch on it. I think you were quite hard done by. I'll be honest. Not for the first time, Salford have been hard done by AFC Wimbledon. Last season was fun, wasn't it? Right, okay. Let's have a look through the games this weekend. We'll have a quick talk about them and we'll give some quick predictions. I'm trying to get my words out there. It was really difficult. We'll start with the 2 half-12 games. Crewe host Barrow. Now, we know that Crewe are in a little bit of a bit of a slump without a win in 6. They've drawn 3, lost 3. Of course, Barrow 2-0 up at Cheltenham. We know that Cheltenham have a very good home record, but the fact that they hadn't even come out of that with at least a point, I think is probably really poor, to be honest. They're a bit inconsistent themselves at the minute, because it seems like they win a few and then they lose a few. That's sort of been their run, but of course they are in transition under Andy Wing. He's not been in the job for very long. I think if you're Crewe, I think you're eyeing this up as a game that I think 3 points needs to come from. It's a possibility as well. But my only thing with Crewe is as well, we've seen a couple of games. I think we've probably seen the last couple where, I say the last couple would have been at home. They've been on the end of some poor results. Their last home game, 3-0 defeat to Newport, and a few weeks before that as well, a 1-0 defeat at home to Accrington Stanley. They really need a result, and probably a bigger result in front of their own supporters. But look, they haven't won a game in 6, so I'd probably itch towards a Crewe win if I'm going to be completely honest. But yeah, I think they certainly need a win more, I think, than what Barrow done. I mean, Barrow's season's done as far as I'm concerned, but that's just sort of what my take on it.
Yeah, I'd say the win would be more important for Crewe. I'm not necessarily convinced they'll get it. If I'm being totally honest, their performances have been really, really poor of late. And the one thing that Barrow have done quite well is they have capitalised when they've played the sides that are out of form. So I'm actually going to back Barrow on this one. I wouldn't normally, and I think based on the quality of the two sides, I would expect Crewe to win. But the reality is they're struggling to get results. So I'm backing Barrow.
I'm backing Crewe. You're backing Barrow. Jack, what about you?
I'll go in the middle. I'll sit on the fence. I'm just going to say
Sitting on the fence.
I think, Barrow, like you said, I think anyone above Fleetwood are challenging for playoffs. Anyone below Gillingham challenging to not get relegated. In between that Fleetwood and Gillingham sort of mix, I think your season's done. I think you can sort of pack up, go home, and start fresh for next season. But so yeah, I mean, in that you've got Barrow, who should really be safe, and then Crewe, who are still challenging. So I think Crewe have got it all to play for. If you're going to pick up points, it's got to be now against teams who are finished. But yeah, I mean, the amount of draws they've got recently, I'm struggling to see where Crewe can get that finishing goal, that extra little bit that you need to turn draws into wins.
I think they've got a couple of injuries as well. Correct me if I'm wrong, if there's any Crewe fans, but I think they have been struggling a fair bit. I mean, look, Mickey Dimitri has been out, I think, for the last few, which is clearly a big loss for them. But Jake, just a quick one from you.
I'm going to go Barrow purely because Crewe have scored 3 goals in their last 8, and Barrow have scored 8 in 3. So it is literally top returning.
Yeah, all right. Bit of a mix and match. I won't be surprised either if it goes either way. Won't be surprised if it's a draw. Won't be surprised if it's a Barrow victory. I just feel something with Crewe this weekend. I think their recent look's got to turn one way or another, and I think this weekend might be the chance for it. 2 games that have still got everything to play for, both at the top and the bottom of the table. Morecambe host Walsall. Now, when Jack's not wearing a Tranmere Rovers shirt, he's wearing any team that play neither Morecambe or Carlisle at the minute, and he'll be wearing probably a Walsall shirt invisibly underneath it. Look, Walsall back to winning ways at the weekend, beating Chesterfield, coming from behind as well. It was a really good win, that actually. Certainly one in which I looked at it and I thought Chesterfield could give them problems on a day, but they've dealt with that really well. Morecambe, lost to Doncaster last time out. It was always going to be a difficult game for them. They did beat Accrington at the weekend, in which me and I think it was Luke, wasn't it? Was it Luke or was it Kieran? I think it was Kieran actually. Either way, I'm forgetting who was on our own podcast a couple of weeks ago. I think Derek Adams, I think, would have banged the drum on that one. That is the one we get 3 points. I can't see anything but a Walsall win here, if I'm going to be completely honest.
Yeah, hard to argue with that. I mean, in that last game, also all 3 strikers of theirs scored. I've been saying all season, I do not rate Morecambe. I do not think they physically have the quality in their side to do anything other than maybe just about avoid relegation if they're lucky. For me, this has Walsall win written all over it.
Walsall win. No, don't need to say anything else.
Yeah, that'll do.
Yeah, totally agree. Walsall all there.
Yeah, I don't think there's really much more we can say.
I think I wouldn't be too shocked if Morecambe put a surprise in there. I mean, I did do a few stats. Like Morecambe in the last 5 games have picked up, other than this is before obviously last night's fixtures. They picked up 6 points out of the last 5. They're on 1.2 per game and have improved from the last 15 down to the last 5 games. Tranmere have continuously gotten worse. Accrington very 50-50, Harrogate very 50-50, Carlisle gotten worse in the last 5 games considerably. So if any team is going to cause an upset in that bottom 5, really, it's going to be Morecambe. But they're against league leaders. How big of an upset can you really cause?
I think there's maybe a little bit of hope because of Walsall's recent run. But I think it's also a bit of a bad thing because they're coming off of it after a win as well. So there's maybe that side to it. But I think the quality, is obviously much better than what Morecambe have. So I think that's probably where I'm coming from with that one. Let's have a look at Accrington, Doncaster. Doncaster back to winning ways last night at said Morecambe. We saw that Accrington played out. They lost to said Morecambe. I mean, they're all playing Morecambe at the minute. Everyone's playing it. They lost to them last time out. They lost to Bradford before that. They had a 0-0 draw to AFC Wimbledon. That's not a bad point, actually. It looked like the worst game of all time. looking at that. They're without a win in 5. Accrington, Doncaster, back on it. I reckon Aki might give them a couple of problems. It's a game you expect Doncaster to win. And if there was probably a winner, it'd probably be them. I really don't rate Accrington at all. But there's a part of me that reckons that maybe Aki can get something out of it. I don't think they'll win it, but I just think there's that chance, actually. Come back to me. I'm yet to decide. I'm just going through it as I go along.
Okay, I'll take over for a second then. I can see where you're coming from with Accrington, to be fair. I feel like every now and then they just have one little moment of quality that just appears kind of out of nowhere and bang, they've got a result. However, for me, I think Doncaster, they've had this midweek game success. Yes, they weren't as clinical as they could have been, but I wouldn't be surprised if they then rectified that at the weekend. For me, this is a Doncaster win.
Yeah, I think, like I was saying, the past 5 games, Accrington have picked up 2 points. The 5 previous to that, they picked up 9. So, like you put it perfectly, that they're such a hot and cold side at the moment. I don't really know what to expect. I can only hope. I think they are slowly falling into that relegation zone, or not zone, battle. They're 2 points away from us at the minute, so I am sort of looking at them as well, hoping, fingers crossed. No offense to any Accrington fans, that they can join that battle with us. So a loss would be helpful to me. I sort of think, either a loss or a draw for Accrington, unfortunately. They're on a bad run of form at the moment, so yeah.
Yeah, totally agree. They're the best away team in the league, and this is the time of the season where they just come alive and go on a mental winning run. So I think they'll just continue what they were doing as of yesterday.
I'm just trying to be different. I think that's probably been me, but like I've said, it's a game you fully expect Doncaster to win, and I think they will, actually, from going off that. But there may be a part where I don't think it'll be as plain sailing as I think maybe it might be. There's maybe times in which, if they can get a result like in AFC Wimbledon, perfect. But on the other hand, you look at the firepower Doncaster have, and I actually think it's far superior to what AFC Wimbledon have. So yeah, and they do concede probably a little bit to Accrington. Not by no means the worst, but they do concede goals. Yeah, Doncaster. You can see where my thinking was, though, as to maybe something could happen there. MK Dons, they head to Yorkshire this weekend to play Bradford City. Now, we all know Bradford City have been very good at home the last month or so. They did lose to Birmingham City last night in the Virtue Motors. Lost 2-1. Absolutely no shame in that. With the squad, the budget, and some of the players that Birmingham have. A very expensive striker, of course, scored for them and went off injured. But we'll leave the League One guys to ramble about that. That's not our business. So if there's any Birmingham fans potentially watching or listening to this, I'm also well, they're going up. Let's be honest. There's no joke to make, just other than the stupid money that they've paid for players, but it's clearly working. Back to League Two. Bradford, they've been very good last few weeks. MK Dons haven't. It's probably a Bradford win. They're at home again. And I thought they put up a very good fight against Birmingham. There's maybe thinkers. They played Birmingham, a League One side last night. Let's be honest, they're a top half championship team on paper. So maybe there might be a sense of maybe tired legs from that. I'm maybe clutching at straws a little bit from an MK Dons perspective as the fact they could really do with a result. No doubt be a difficult game for you lot. Luke, I'll let you go.
I was going to say, you're trying to justify it far more than I'm going to. Bradford have won their last 8 home games, and even the one before that was a draw as well. So all the stats kind of suggest we're going to lose. I think we're going to lose. It would be very typical League Two if we did, suddenly pull out a result out of nowhere. But, we've also got our main holding midfielder, Jay Williams, is now suspended for 2 games as well, which means we're not going to have any physicality in the side. And if we do, it will be the inexperience of Kane Thompson-Sommers. So I can't see it. I might randomly predict it on random predictions leagues, but I'm not going to predict it here. I think the reality is Bradford win.
You've made my decision easier.
Like you say, it's one of them where if there was going to be a random result that was going to MK is going to smash Bradford, it would be this week, and it would be that game. I think their run of forms are so sort of juxtaposed to each other. It would be the game, but I can't say it, unfortunately. I think it'll be a brilliant result for Bradford as they push on, possibly worrying times for MK. But they should relax. They're safe. Think about next season.
We've got to that point now of it. Yeah, MK should worry. Just they're safe. They're not going down. Luke tried to claim it on the WhatsApp the other week. We're in a late relegation battle. No, you're not. No, you're not. Behave.
We're trying.
when you're that bad against us,
try me a spot if you want. I'm sure Jack will on that.
I'll pass.
I think when you're that bad against us, there's always that worry, isn't there? I mean, we were awful, but to see someone that was worse is a shock. But you're safe. You've got enough points on the board finally. So I think if you carried on that form from that game for the entire season, then definitely. But start of the season
to these players. I don't know how we're this bad with these players, to be honest. But it's a problem for next season.
Jake, what about you, real quick?
Yeah, I'll go Bradford as well. I just that home form is just going to be so tough.
Yeah, I agree. Let's have a look at Bromley, Harrogate. Yeah, Bromley are all right. Harrogate are not. I know, cutting edge analysis right there. But no, Bromley, 2 wins on the bounce. They beat Fleetwood last weekend, and they beat MK Dons before that, like everyone does. Harrogate, I mean, they picked up that victory against Swindon. Now, I got a little bit of, Kieran certainly raised an eyebrow or two when I said that I think Harrogate will beat Swindon last week, and I went and did just that. Of course, Harrogate are a team, if they're not careful, I think they're very, they're not safe as it is, but they do have a little bit of a cushion compared to some of the other teams, and that win against Swindon will certainly help things. They go into a difficult place at Hayes Lane at home with Bromley. I back Bromley to get 3 points, if I'm going to be honest. I think that'll be too much for them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in total agreement, to be honest. I'm thinking this is a routine Bromley win. I mean, Harrogate are another team where I've sort of consistently said I don't rate them. They're not very good. So I think, routine Bromley win. I'm
the exact same as Luke. I think I mentioned a few weeks ago that I was worried about Harrogate's chances of staying up, and I've routinely said, when do you sack the manager? But they've still got 2 games in hand on Accrington below them. Accrington have got 2 games in hand on Harrogate. We've got 1 game in hand on them, so they can still slip into that relegation zone. Bromley, brilliant side. I think they've got some really good, talented players that I didn't expect as well. I don't think anyone did expect them to put up the performances they've had, but I've been really pleasantly surprised. I think that they're getting it done. I think they're getting it done quietly. I don't think there's been much to mention from them, but really impressive when you think about it.
Can I just say something on Bromley? I always had the impression that I think they'd do okay, probably about mid-table-ish. I can't remember what I put them in my predictions. It was like 16th, I think I put them. Or it was certainly around there, but I could have gone higher. I think they'd have taken League Two like a duck to water, and it's exactly what they have done. And there's even an outside shot of the playoffs. It's still, if we're talking about Colchester in the mix, we need to talk about Bromley as well. They're on the same points as them. Not beyond the realms of impossible. But I think either way, it's been a fantastic first season for Bromley. Fantastic first season, and certainly something to build on going forward. But anyway, Jake, what about you for this one?
Probably Bromley win. I can't see going any other way. Not Tranmere. Harrogate looks so poor, so I think that'll just.
We do too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, completely agree. This one's an interesting one. Carlisle are up against Gillingham. Now, Gillingham haven't won a game for God knows how long. I can't be bothered to go through, but there's,
It
they've
was
had
before Christmas.
yeah, I can have a look. And yeah, I wondered why you said that because I've just seen who they beat. And then you've got Carlisle, who, I mean,
Similar.
They didn't lose at the weekend. I think they've got Gay Breeze to thank for that. I'm not sure if that clip was mentioned in the FTF at the weekend. It was a game which we completely forgot to talk about. That's on me. But at the same time, it was 0-0, and there was a couple of unbelievable goalkeeping saves. If you're Carlisle, I've said that, Carlisle have got a few run of games in which they're at home, and they've got some tough teams coming up. I think this is a game in which they've got to go out and get something from. I absolutely have to if they've got any chance of staying up, because it's a perfect time to play Gillingham, but also maybe the point last week against Colchester, a decent side, might be the little bit of spring that they might need. You know what? I'm going to go for a Carlisle win. They're at home. I think they'll be, they're always backed as it is, but I think we're getting to the point now. I think it's now or never for them. And I think looking at their next few fixtures, I think this is a game I think they've got to go out and get something from as a matter of must, really.
I'll tell you what, you've stolen my thunder there. I was about to make this big reveal about how Carlisle are going to win, but you've beaten me to it. Well, put it this way: Carlisle haven't won at home in 2025 yet, and as we just said, Gillingham haven't won full stop since before Christmas. Unless it's a draw, something has to give, and I think this is the week Carlisle are going to do it.
Yeah, fair enough. I think I've also looked at, so we've got 15 games left for most sides. Carlisle are against 5 of the bottom 8 in the league in those 15 games. The next 2 games are against Gillingham at home and Barrow away, and they are 2 of the bottom 8. So if they're going to do it, it's going to be now. It can only be now. I'm going to say they're not. I'm going to say Gillingham win. That's purely based off me hoping and praying that we gain points and we get something to sort of escape that issue. But yeah, I'd probably say a draw. I think both sides are struggling. A draw.
Sure. Yeah.
I'll go Carlisle just because they have to. It's now or never, like you said. They have to start picking up points.
I generally thought that Jack was going to say Carlisle through gritted teeth. When it was mentioned, I mean, it'd be.
I think they've got to. If they want to escape relegation, they've got to do it. I think if they don't win the next 2 games, their season's as good as over. Other thing I really just want to bring up: did Gillingham sack John Coleman?
No, he's still Coleman's still there.
No, but do they? They're on a horrendous run of form at the moment. At what point do you change again? Because they are slipping down. There's a real concern. I don't think they're in the relegation battle, but if we somehow gain points and they keep slipping down, how and when do you change again?
Unless they suddenly get dragged into it, I think they just leave it till the summer, to be honest.
Yeah.
Just make the decision early in the summer, sort it through then.
Yeah, completely agree. I think it was always going to be an appointment. I think it was always going to be an appointment until the end of the season, and I think, barring any catastrophe, in which these next few games brings, in which all of a sudden they are dragged into it, I think they'll ride it out.
Yeah, they've just got to be careful. I think make sure they get at least something.
Yeah. Fleetwood make the trip to North East Lincolnshire to face Grimsby Town at the weekend. Now, I will be the first to say this is a big game for us. This is another big game. We've got a few games coming up in which are big. Our next 3 consist of Fleetwood. We go to Cheltenham next week, and then we've got Tranmere Rovers. That's our next game. Before, we've got 2 difficult games against Walsall and Notts County after that. So, look, my impression is I think if we want to get in and around the playoffs, or maybe even better, there's still an outside chance for autos. I'm saying that, God. These are the sort of games I think we have to win. Now, I know that we don't have the best of records against Fleetwood. We lost to them on the opening day in what was a pretty abject performance. But I think we've certainly come on leaps and bounds since then. We've done all right at home. You know, we're unbeaten in the last 4, 3 wins out of our last 4, 10 points picked up for possible 12. Fleetwood, you know, as mentioned earlier, they haven't scored in the last 3. I've got to say, I think Fleetwood will score. I'll be surprised if they didn't. I'd like to think we'll get the job done again. And if we get 3 points at the weekend, that could go a long way, actually. I can't not say a win for Grimsby here. I would absolutely love it if we do.
Yeah, no, I think I'd back you guys. To be fair, I think, like I said, I think Fleetwood had their good day in midweek, and yes, they weren't clinical enough, but they're just that inconsistent. I don't think they'll be that strong again. They might get some kind of goal, but I don't think it's going to be enough. To be honest, I think this is a Grimsby win. This is the beginning of your charge.
Me too. Grimsby win for me. I think you've got to. Yeah, I know. I don't know what's happening here, but I think you've got to push for it. So Grimsby win.
I'm going to say a draw. Unfortunately,
Of course you are.
Yeah, I need it to be a draw because we're probably going to lose. So that'll be more points dropped, and we can't afford you to gain any points. And it just screams a draw, and so does the game that you've skipped.
Have I skipped one? Yeah, I have. Yeah, you corrected me there. We'll go back to that one. I'm always skipping Colchester at the minute. Like I've got something against it. But anyway, Colchester AFC Wimbledon. It's a tough game for both. We know that Colchester draw a fair few games. I mean, they drew at the weekend, but they are a good run of form themselves. We know that AFC Wimbledon don't give a lot away. What was it? Unbeaten in the last? What was it? 11? Did you say? I could be wrong. I'm perfectly sitting on the fence on this one. I think it'll be another draw. I think especially for the fact that Colchester are at home and it's not. I think if it was at Wimbledon, I think my thought would be slightly different. I just think it'll be a very close game. I don't think there'll be a lot in it. I think it'll be a draw.
Well, yeah, I mean, the stats would back you up on that one. AFC haven't lost since before Christmas. Colchester haven't lost since early January. It just screams draw, doesn't it? And that's what I'm going to go with as well.
I completely agree. I think it's going to be a draw. 2 good sides going for, well, automatics and then playoffs. Both something to fight for. I think they'll cancel each other out.
Yeah, a draw as well. 4 draws.
Yeah.
Okay, Colchester win. I'll be different.
Always want it now. Michael Flynn heads back to Rodney Parade with his Cheltenham side to take on Newport County, a very informed Newport County side at the minute. Picked up a draw against Bradford last time out. They finished with 10 men, Bradford. I think we discussed on the pod the other day that I think maybe they should have made a bit more from it, but at the same time, Bradford are a decent side. We all know that Cheltenham have been good at home. In terms of what they've done away, they drew goalless. No, they didn't. They lost to Fleetwood in their last away game. But maybe I reckon it'll be a pretty cool game. I think the first game of the season this was, and I believe Cheltenham won 3-2. It was a very good game of football. I mean, I saw the news that Carl Hudlin's out for the next 6 to 8 weeks. So I think that Newport are down to only 1 striker because they've decided to loan out 2 others. And I think I read something that they can't be recalled. So yeah, there's a bit of a problem there. I think it'd be a cool game. I think it'd be a fun game. But I think it'll be a draw. It's one of those in which I just think, yeah, I can just see it.
Yeah, I mean, my instinct was Cheltenham win here because although Newport have been on a sort of 6-game unbeaten run, aside from 1 or 2 of those performances, I said it before, I don't think they're actually all that good, to be honest. But then, as you say, Cheltenham aren't that good away. It's kind of one of those where something might give, and I think this could be Cheltenham potentially putting that run to an end. So I'm going with Cheltenham.
I think for me, it's 2 teams that have finished the season. Neither really have anything to worry about or anything to play for. I'll just go with a draw, but yeah, I think it'll be 2 even sides really.
I'll say Newport just because of how good they've been defensively and going forward recently. It's another home game and another good chance for them to win.
That might be the first time this season in which I've heard Newport are good defensively. Like it's not been often. At one stage. I mean, how many goals have they conceded this season? 47. Compare that to Grimsby, 47 as well. Oh dear. Somehow not the worst. I mean, look, the bottom three share 49 goals.
You.
For all three of them do. So they're all just as pants as each other. But yeah, like I said, I reckon it'd be a fun game. I reckon there might be a few goals in it, but maybe if there was a winner, probably itching towards Cheltenham, but I just think it'll be a draw. Tranmere Rovers head to Notts County at the weekend. Notts County, I think, will be disappointed. You know, the last couple of results, I think they'd have been disappointed in their way. They lost to Port Vale, as I think they had some decent chances in that game, especially in the first half. They'll be really disappointed with the goal they conceded as well. It didn't sound like the best of performances at Meadow Lane against Colchester last night. Now, Tranmere, I mean, they drew with MK Dons last time out. 2 draws in a row. So, you know, a couple of points there. But ultimately, they're without a win in their last 8, as I've counted. I think this is a pretty straightforward one. Notts County at home. I think they win this. Sorry, Jack.
Yeah, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This is a routine Notts win all over. Sorry.
Yeah, I think, like I said, from our last 15 games in the league, we've took home 11 points. That's 0.7 points per game. From our last 5 games, we took home 2 points, 0.4 per game. We're getting worse. We're consistently getting worse. You know, I won't leave it for this podcast, but yeah, some of the decisions have been mind-boggling to me. In terms of our away form, in our last 7 league games, we've lost all 7, scored 3 goals, got 20 goals conceded, and 5 red cards. That's just in the league. So imagine that'll be a high-scoring game for Notts County. Yeah. Probably. It's going to be a loss. It's I can't say anything else after those stats, can I?
I'd love to be different, but it's just going to be routine for Notts County.
Yeah, I completely agree. I just can't see how Tranmere get anything from it. I just can't. I think Notts have something to prove after the last couple of games as well, and I think they see Tranmere next on the fixtures. I think it's probably one in which I think that
the party.
Yeah, probably so. Yeah, wonder what Stuart Maynard's team talk is heading into the week will be like. Right, okay, Tranmere next. Yeah,
fun.
Right. Just have fun. Yeah, I can't see anything different. 2 games left. Port Vale host Salford City. Obviously, Port Vale with that big victory against Notts County on Thursday night. They're currently sat 6th. They're 4 points behind AFC Wimbledon in second, so they're not completely out of the automatic race. Salford lost to AFC Wimbledon last time out and had only won 1 of their last 7 games. I think this will be. I think if I had to pick a winner, I'm leaning towards Port Vale. And I don't think. I won't be surprised if it's a draw either. If I'm going to be honest, I'll be honest. I don't really see Salford winning, but I don't know. Yeah, that's just sort of where I am at the minute with that one.
I'll tell you what, I'll help you out. Port Vale haven't actually lost in the league in 2025 yet, so I think it'll be relatively close. But I'm leaning towards Port Vale on this one.
For me, I think it's going to be another close game, isn't it? I think it's going to be a week of draws. I'd go for another draw, really. 2 even sides, both with things to play for. Yeah, another draw.
I'm going to go Port Vale. We played them twice this season already, and they won 2-0 both times. I can just see it happening again.
Yeah, look, as I think I've sort of alluded to, I won't be surprised if it's a draw, but I am itching towards a Port Vale victory here. I think with the fact that they're at home, after the back of that good win against Notts as well, I think they'll certainly take that momentum going into that, as long as they have it in front of the home crowd as well. Last game of the day, Chesterfield make the trip to Ian Holloway, Swindon. Now, Swindon, they lost for the first time in quite a few games last night, a really disappointing result at Harrogate, but considering where they were a couple of months back, they're certainly not in a bad position. They're certainly in a much better position than what they once were. And, a lot of credit has to go to Ian Holloway. I'm saying that again. But then you look at Chesterfield. I think they've been given the lift that Armando Dobra has signed a new contract with them today, which is big for them. I rate him massively. Lost to Walsall last time out. I think I mentioned that Paul Cook wasn't massively impressed with that one, in the way they somewhat fell apart. As a chance to put things right again. I think Chesterfield are another side a little bit inconsistent at the minute. Maybe the defeat to Harrogate might have put a little damper on things at Swindon. I don't know where to go. I don't know where to go for this one. I think I think it'll be another close game. I remember watching this game in the first game of the season when it was a 1-1 draw. I remember Will Wright scoring a pretty good goal. It was a really nice goal as well. I'd probably say draw again, if I'm going to be honest, for me.
Yeah, I mean, this was a tricky one to decide on, and up until I literally just found this stat, I was probably leaning towards a draw. But Chesterfield haven't won away since 14th of December. So for me, I'm gonna back Swindon. Actually, I'm gonna do it. I'm backing them.
I weirdly agree with you. I think Swindon might come out and sort of pull an upset. So yeah, Swindon win for me as well.
I'll be different, and I'll say Chesterfield.
The thing is, I get
quality to win it.
Yeah, I think the thing I get from Chesterfield is, I think I've mentioned about, they have been a little bit inconsistent, but I think this is one of, they're not like playing like a Morecambe or a Carlisle or anyone like that, but I see this as another game of importance for them. I think they really need to start picking up more wins on a consistent basis. Yes, injuries have hampered that, I think, but they've really got to start getting into like the groove a little bit if they want to be in and around there challenging as well. I think the best they can hope for now is certainly a playoff place. And they've got some pretty tough games coming up as well. So maybe that they might look at that one and think, right, okay, there's maybe one where we should probably ought to get 3 points here if we are to keep on track, which is probably what most people thought they'd do. And it's at least fight for a playoff spot. It's not saying that they're not fighting for it now, but I just think it's a case in which I think they've got to get some more points on the board, but it's easier said than done. I think at the minute with this rejuvenated Swindon side, who are only a point behind MK Dons in the table, I thought I'd mention that before we wrap up this episode. Compare that to what was only a few months ago. Looked like a bit of a pipe dream. The fact that Swindon Town are only 1 point away of the mighty MK Dons. That might be the title of the pod? No.
How did that happen? Eh?
It probably right. I think we'll wrap it up there. And of course, we like to thank you guys for listening. As always, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you are new around here. Make sure you download the podcast wherever you get your podcast from. We'll be back at the weekend. Well, we'll be back on Monday probably when this comes out, reflecting on what has happened and all that sort of stuff. And we've got a couple of minutes before we wrap up. Anyone for any more? Has anything anything to say or anything like that?
Just that the support in the last sort of month or so has genuinely been immense. So yeah, as long as you guys keep it up, we can keep pushing the content as much as we can. We all enjoy doing this, and we really do appreciate it. So yeah, thank you.
Perfect. Right then, thank you guys for listening as always. We'll see you on the next episode. We'll see you in a bit.